Thank you very much for the question. The COP11 is an important area where people meet and talk about what has been done in terms of biodiversity conservation and look at policies that have been made and future plans and so on. So my experience has been very good because this is my third COP. I'm attending I attend COP9 in Bonn, COP10 in Nagoya, and this one. So I've been following some steps of the CBDs.
Tell us about the most pressing biodiversity issues in your country.
My country, the Democratic Republic of Congo, counts about 1 million square kilometers of forests. That represents 50% of the African forests. And you've heard maybe about the Congo Forest Basin, and that also 76% of that huge forest in Central Africa. My country has been involved in many situations that really has constituted challenges for biodiversity conservation, and one is the wars in which we have been for the last 15 years. And actually we have lost about 6 million Congolese dead during this war. And that have had a big impact, a negative impact on our work in conservation in Congo. However, Congolese are very dynamic and still doing what they can to protect what remains to be protected.
So now, Mr. Dominique, tell us something about your organization. What is the mission of the organization? In what areas are you working?
For the last 20 years, I've been involved in this domain, this field of conservation and sustainable development. And Strong Roots focuses on how to integrate local and indigenous communities in the long-term preservation of protected areas in DRC. And actually we are based in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And normally it's the Kahuzi-Biega National Park, where we focus on gorilla conservation programs and also looking at livelihood projects with communities. And nowadays we are looking at how we can push policies, because the government of the Congo is planning to extend the size of the protected areas in the country from 10% to 15% of the national territory. However, it's very difficult to continue with the same system that was created by colonialists when the national park were being created. And we are looking at how we can empower communities who are already empowered because they've been protecting this forest for years. In other words, we are looking at how we can provide communities with skills and tools to be able to protect themselves, their forest, through what we call community forest. And it's where we are looking on how we can push policies through the government to be able to understand it. We've been doing some projects, and some of them are reforestation around protected areas and focusing on education among communities. We've built schools that teach conservation. We are looking also at how to improve the socioeconomic conditions of people living around the park, and research, and also training communities, mostly pygmies, who are engaged now in farming, how to provide them with skills in agricultural techniques and so on. So we've done quite a lot for the last few years we've been working. Yeah.
So tell us about the positive impact of your work. What changes have you seen over the last few years of constantly working with the communities?
If I look at the whole situation, I would say first is the conflict resolution between communities and park managers. Because once the park was created, communities, indigenous and local communities, were pushed out of the forest. And we came up to be in the middle of the park and the communities to say, okay, we love the forest, we love the park, but we cannot sacrifice the communities because of the park, and we put them together to see how we can reconcile the situation and how we can provide like socioeconomic alternatives to communities so that they don't rely 100% on the park. Because in the area where we live and where we work, 98.6% of fuel comes from wood. So, and the park doesn't have a buffer zone. So it has been a very big challenge between communities and the park. And we've come up with projects to providing forest to communities like trees. And so we've worked on conflict resolution, but also we've provide strong packet of environmental education program that really is providing skills to youth and adults in order to be able to understand and to take in their hands the understanding of national parks. And the other positive impact coming from the national parks, we are now going to the community forest, where communities still living in the forest. We are now negotiating on how the government can understand and leave them protecting and living and using in a rational manner the natural resources in their community forest. So these are some of the positive impact I can set very quickly, broadly.